The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to those expressing them and do not necessarily reflect the OSIP Foundation Incorporated or any other group or individual. This podcast may contain dialogue or subject material that could be considered for mature audiences only. All aspects of How You Play the Game and the OSIP Foundation Incorporated are protected by copyright and other state and federal intellectual property laws. Unauthorized use without the express written consent of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated is strictly prohibited. If you're interested in sponsoring How You Play the Game, please email us at podcast@osipfoundation.org. Your sponsorship may be tax deductible. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of How You Play the Game, the official podcast of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated. Yours truly, Jack Furlong, with you as we talk to you about what's going on as far as the world of sportsmanship is concerned. This is the second episode of the month of April. The year is 2026. Glad you can be with us. As always, check us out online at osipfoundation.org. You can contact the show using the email address podcast@osipfoundation.org. And on the socials, we're at facebook.com/osipfoundation, X and Instagram at osipfoundation, hashtag how you play the game. A quick plug before we get into today's episode. Don't forget that tickets are now on sale for the 4th annual OSIP celebration, which will be on Sunday, May 31st from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Trenton Ancient Order of Hibernians, the AOH, the Hibos, in Hamilton, New Jersey. We'll be giving out the inaugural edition of the Ricardo Portillo Award for Sportsmanship Excellence to our good friends Rush Cahall of Sage Media Productions. And friend of the show, Mr. Christopher Conroy, will be there in person with his family to accept the award. We expect to have a wonderful time. Tickets are $100 each. They're online at osipfoundation.org/celebration. Don't forget, you can also sponsor the event. You can donate to the silent auction. You can even buy a ticket for someone who otherwise couldn't attend. These are all things that you can do, and we would love to have you there. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful night, and the more people we can get there, the better. So again, get your tickets now and come join us for the 4th annual OSIP celebration. So today I wanted to talk about something that happened kind of in my own personal inner circle. We get into a very busy time of year now as we are in the spring area of baseball and the celebration. And you get to a point where the window of tolerance is very small, just because if you think about the amount of energy and the amount of brain cells that you have on the regular, a lot of it gets used. You dedicate a lot of time and a lot of energy and attention and all that to so many different things right about now, which is just, that's what happens. It's all good, So anyway, I was doing a trivia night recently, and I was stressed. I had been under the gun, and didn't have all of my full faculties about me and whatnot. And it wasn't anything egregious. It was just more about like the vibe. When you're a trivia host like this and you're an entertainer, the vibe that you project can be very influential in how people respond and whatnot. So it was definitely something where I knew I was not going to be firing on all cylinders, but it is what it is. Hey, we've all had those days where we kind of just have to go through the motions a little bit. So anyway, I go do the trivia night, and it's fine. Nothing crazy about it. But you could tell that there were people, maybe one or two, that were just like, they were practically insulted by the questions that I was asking in my trivia night. Like it had nothing to do with the humor, the atmosphere, the venue. It was literally just, one person literally said to me, "These questions are so stupid," or ridiculous, or something. It wasn't even something of substance. It was just, they're stupid. And it's not someone who's a regular or anything like that. And then I heard rumors of another regular who was basically going to echo this kind of stuff. I've said it before in our blog, which is on our website. It's called The Strike Zone. And I'm sure I've said it in other places as well. If you don't like it, you don't have to show up. You know, we do these trivia nights for people to practice good sportsmanship. They're not there purely as entertainment. Okay, we have an altruistic meaning behind it, which is to provide a safe and controlled environment of competition where people can be good sports as they compete. And it doesn't require physical dexterity. It just requires your brain. You know, and to come off otherwise is, I don't know if I can say it's insulting, but it's definitely disappointing. You know, we do so much to try and make these fun, to try, you know, but there's never, like most things in life, you can't please everybody. You know, I have gotten so many compliments, so many good thoughts, so many wonderful things about the events that we do, that when I hear something like this, you know, from a therapeutic standpoint, a lot of it is just, you know, I don't know if this is about me. And it's funny too, because that's what a lot of things with sportsmanship, you know, encapsulate. When you read about like arguments on, you know, on a sports field, sometimes, in fact, the majority of the time, it's not psychologically about the person who made the call. It's about something else. You know, how many times have we discussed the idea that the overbearing parent, the parent who is the problem, you know, who's getting mad at a coach or at an official or anything like that, it's never about the game. It's never about the kid. It's never about the call. It's about the parent's deeply psychological deficiency to live vicariously through the kid. You know, and to set up defenses, you know, which are usually embodied as a giant offense to protect said kid, as if to say, I will not let my kid experience the same failure that I had, and now I must get that success that I couldn't get through my kid. Very similar to what's going on here with trivia sometimes. Not exact, because the kids aren't always there. Okay? More about the idea that for whatever reason, if you don't know the answer to a trivia question or to multiple trivia questions in one night, well, it can't be my fault. It has to be Jack's fault for asking too hard or too stupid of questions. I have a friend who used to come to my trivia nights all the time. And then COVID hit, and, you know, that dissipated, and lives changed, and now his schedule is such where he can't make it. That's cool. Not a problem. Absolutely no issue. This is more about something that he said to me once, almost in passing. And it's almost like he said it to somebody else and I overheard it. He was at a trivia night and there was a tough question, and someone on his team said something about, you know, getting it right or not, or something, you know, questionable about that. No pun intended, of course, about a trivia question. And he says, well, guess what? If we don't get it right, we'll learn something. And I thought to myself, how profound, how amazing, how mature. Like, that really stuck with me after all of these years, that someone would say, you know, if I don't get this trivia question right, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to learn something. Like that to me, when I heard that just in passing, it touched me in a way that I was like, this is the type of person that I need. This is the type of person that we need. And we need at these events. You know, we put on our rule sheets for trivia things like, we understand that you want to win, but please remember that you are playing free trivia of your own accord, sponsored by a sportsmanship charity. And we always kindly ask that people put that into perspective. It's not the end of the world, folks. No one's making you be there. No one is making you play. For this, in the same way that if you don't like a television show or a program on the radio, you turn it off. If you don't like a restaurant, you don't go there. It's the same thing. So I'll never understand the psychology of people when they feel that they have to make those types of comments. And one of the rebuttals that I get frequently is, well, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to give you constructive criticism to make it better. Well, here's the thing. There's no such thing as constructive criticism. It's criticism, okay? And maybe your opinion is the outlier. Statistically speaking, I keep track of all of the analytics of my trivia nights now. Not just the day in which I ask questions and things like that, but I also keep a note of how many people came that night. In looking at that, I've learned something. Sometimes it's not about me. We have venues where it gets packed because of trivia. And I'm always amazed. And when that happens, I realize it's not me, it's the venue. The venue's good. I'm just the cherry on top. There are always other factors that go into it that go well beyond just me and my trivia. Do we have the ability to take a step back in these settings and see the forest for the trees? Because a lot of people don't. And it's the exact same thing in many elements of sports and competition. Do we have the ability in youth sports to take a step back and realize that life is going to go on after this youth contest? And a parent might say, well, I'm just trying to help my kid. Yeah, well, guess what? Your kid gets more out of it when you sometimes don't help. Because sometimes the greater lesson goes beyond just what you're trying to help. So much of sports and competition is not about whether or not you win or lose. Did you learn teamwork? Did you have fun? Did you give it your all? Did you respect the coaches and your opponents and the officials? When you were faced with adversity, did you handle it correctly? Those are the things that go well beyond wins and losses in youth sports and competition. And in terms of trivia nights, the same applies. Because I guarantee you, nobody is leaving any one of my trivia nights with anything more than a $10 gift card or something like that to the venue. No one's walking away with a cash prize. No one's going on Jeopardy. All right? No one is going to lose their house if they don't win. Okay? These are the things that people need to keep in mind. It's the same idea, not exact, but it's similar to if you go gambling. All right? If you go gambling, you want to try and gamble only with money that you can afford to lose. And when you leave that night losing, you have to take a step back and economically look at it and say, did I get, if I lost $100, did I get $100 worth of entertainment? It would have been better if I won, but did I get the value of my money? And it's the same thing. If I go and compete in a free trivia night and I don't win, did I have a good time? These are the things we have to consider. And I strongly ask the people who are hearing this, if you do come to one of my trivia nights, please take a deep self-reflection. Reflect on that. Ask yourself that. How can I be better as a patron? How can I have more fun in ways that do not involve criticizing the host or the venue? No venue is perfect, folks. Believe me, I know. So I just want people to take that moment and think about that. It's just free trivia. And if you don't win, maybe you learn something about just a normal fact in life. So that's all for today. Glad you can be with us. As always, be sure to check out osipfoundation.org. The email address is podcast@osipfoundation.org. Facebook.com/osipfoundation. X and Instagram @osipfoundation. # how you play the game. We'll talk to everybody in a few short weeks. And until then, treat each other with respect. How You Play the Game is a production of the OSIP Foundation, Incorporated. The producer-engineer of this episode is Sean Ryan. Music by SoundSpring Studio. The executive producer of How You Play the Game is Jack Furlong. For more information, visit osipfoundation.org.